Hello everyone, this is Zaid from zSecurity, and in this video I'm going to show you how to discover any device that is connected to the internet, be it a camera, a printer, a server, a personal computer, a smart device like a smart TV or a smart fridge, and even industrial control systems and even power plants. Now, before we start, I just want to let you know that we're planning on having a live session next, similar to the one that we had previously. Go and check it out if you haven't watched it. I'll include its link in the resources or on the card there on the top left. So if you want to ask us anything or if you want us to discuss something specific, send that to us on our Twitter account. Again, I'm going to include it in the description or on the card on the top left. Please don't ask us anything technical, use the Q&A or the forums for that, but you can ask us anything else related to cybersecurity or to tech in general. Now, let's get back to our video in which I'm going to show you how to discover any device that is connected to the internet. Now, you might think, why would I want to discover a printer or why would I want to discover a camera? Well, as you know, information gathering is one of the most important steps when it comes to hacking. And let's say you're trying to hack into a popular platform or a website. Chances are the platform that is designed for people to use is very, very secure. It's gone through a number of pen tests and it has a bug bounty program. So the platform that the users use every day is very, very secure. Therefore, if you test that and you can't get in, the next step for you is to try to get in from other access points. And devices that are not intended for normal people to use are great access points. So websites that's not advertised, systems like control systems, monitoring systems, even cameras and printers can be used as access points because in many cases these devices run outdated firmwares. So if you discover a certain device, you can go ahead and search for vulnerabilities in the firmware of this specific device. If you can't find any of that, you can use the information that you gathered about this device to social engineer your target into doing something that will allow you to hack the system. In many cases, these printers, and as you will see, these printers and these devices don't even use authentication. So you can break them, for example, and then call the user to pretend that you're going to fix it. Or in many cases, if you discovered a monitoring software or a monitoring device, the device itself will give you access, maybe small access that doesn't give you a lot of privileges, but then you can leverage that to gain access to bigger computers and to larger networks. Now, enough with the talk, let's go ahead and see how we can discover any device that is connected to the internet. Now, to discover these devices, we're going to use a search engine called Shodan. You can think of it as Google, but Google searches websites and Shodan searches for any type of a device connected to the internet. So the first thing we'll do is go to the website, shodan.io, and I'll include its links in the resources. And as you can see, you get a very simple website to use, and similar to Google, you have a search box that you can use to search. Now we know in Google, when we search for a specific term, Google returns all the websites that contain this search term. Now in Shodan, this is slightly different because as we know, Shodan only searches for devices connected to the internet, not just websites. See, each device that is connected to the internet has a banner, and Shodan searches in the data field of the banner. Let me show you an example. So, a banner for a specific device would be similar to this right here. So as you can see, it has a number of fields. We have a data field, an IP, a port, an organization, and a location field. Now, the banner can be different depending on the device itself, but all of them will at least have the data field. Therefore, when you type anything in the search box in here, Shodan only returns results that contain that term in their data field. For example, if we wanted to discover this specific device, we will have to type Moxa and port device. Or even if we just type Moxa, Shodan will get us all devices that contain Moxa in their data field. But that's kind of boring. Let's try something more interesting. Let's try to look for any device that contains the word camera in their data field in their banner. And perfect, as you can see, we get a list of a number of devices here. Each one of them contains the word camera in their data field. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is a camera. This is just a device that contains the word camera in their data field of their banner. Now, you can also see from the left in here, you can filter the results by country. So you can filter by Germany, United States, or whatever. And you have the number of devices that match the search term in each of these countries. You can click on the more to see all the other countries that contain devices that match our search term. You can filter by the ports. You can filter by the organization that is running or that owns this device. And you can filter by the products and the operating system. There's actually much more filters. You can click on more and get more of them. And we will talk about that as we go through the video. For now, as you can see, we have the IPs in here of all of these devices. We get some information on the right. And if you click on the IP, you'll actually get more detailed information about this specific device. And we'll see that later on. Or you can just click on the red arrow to go directly to the web interface of this device. And as you can see right here, I actually have a camera. This specific camera requires a username and a password to log in, but the fact that we're able to discover this camera is really useful in many cases, because like I said, we have the model of the camera and we can discover vulnerabilities in it. We can try to log in with the default username or password. We can run a word list attack and guess the username and the password, or just use this to social engineer the user to do something that will allow us to hack into their system. Now, I'm not going to do any of that because that means I'm going to break into a system that I don't own. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a filter that will narrow the results and only show us cameras that do not use authentication. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, get me all the devices that contain the word camera in their data field in their banner. And I want you to filter them and only show me the devices that you are able to take a screenshot of. So we're going to type has screenshot true. This is an example of using a filter. The filter that we're using is has screenshot, and we're saying, I want you to show me the results that you were able to take a screenshot of. So if Shodan was able to take a screenshot of the result, means that it was able to view the camera. And if it was able to view the camera, then the camera did not require any authentication. So all the cameras that I'm going to get right now do not require authentication, but it won't be all of the cameras in the world. Let's see what we get. So we're going to click on search. And perfect. As you can see, we get a number of results. We can already see the screenshot in here. And as usual, if you just click on the red arrow, it will take you directly to the camera. Now, there are a number of filters that you can use with Shodan, and I will include a link to all of the filters in the description of the video and on the top left there on the card. You can see them all right here. And as you can see, the one that we use so far is has screenshot. But as you can see, there are a number of very useful filters. So you can filter stuff based on the country and based on the city. You can use the all filter to tell Shodan to search for this term in all of the data returned by the device, not only by the data field of the banner. You can filter stuff based on the host name, based on the IP, and we'll have a look on some of these as we go through the video. But the one that I really want to use is the country. So going back to our results, as you can see, we're getting devices that contain the word camera in their data field of the banner and have a screenshot in all over the world. Like I said, you can either just click on one of the filters in here. If you don't see the country in here, you can click on more and select the country from the list that you have in here. And again, from here, you can select whatever other filter you want to apply, click it and click on search. And then from there, click on the filter that you want to use. But what I want to do, I actually want to show you how to properly use the search box in here to search for data, because then you'll even be able to interact with the API and use the text interface of the program. So I'm going to filter my results based on a country. So I only want to get cameras from one country, and I'm going to set the country to Monaco. So we're going to do MC. We're going to search. And as you can see, we get no results. I did this because I want to highlight to you that not every camera will say the word camera in their banner. And this goes to any device you're searching for. Not every device will say the device type in the data field of their banner. Therefore, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to remove the word camera from here. And my search right now will get me any device that is in Monaco that Shodan was able to take a screenshot of. We're going to search. And as you can see, we get a number of devices in here. And as you can see, the screenshot in many cases is remote desktop access. So these are personal computers with remote desktop enabled. Now, we don't want to access personal computers. We're looking for cameras. So we're going to use another filter. If you look at the remote desktop in here, if you look at any of these devices, so if I open this device in a new tab, you'll see that it's using port 3389. So this is one of the default ports that remote desktop runs on. So I don't want that. I'm not interested in this. Therefore, I'm going to go back to my search result and I'm going to say, I want you to do all of this, but I want to exclude. That's why I'm adding the minus sign followed by the filter that I want to exclude, which is the port filter. And the port that I want to exclude is port 3389. So we're going to type that. And just quickly to show you where I got that filter, again, from the same page that has the filter reference, we have a filter called port. So as you can see, using the filters is always the same. You type the filter name followed by the value. If you want to exclude that filter, you add a minus followed by the filter name followed by the value. So we're going to search. This should reduce the results. And as you can see, it actually did reduce the results. And perfect. Now we have cameras in Monaco that have a screenshot, so they don't require authentication. And like I said, again, this won't be all of the cameras in there. This will be the ones that match the specific search that I typed. Again, if we click on the red arrow, we'll get direct access to the camera. This is actually a dealership right across from where I used to live. And perfect. As you can see, the camera loads and it's live, it's moving. Now it gets even better and scarier. So if I close this, scroll up and view on the map, and we're going to zoom in on Monaco. As you can see, we have the location of our dealership with the camera, and this is actually the correct, pretty accurate location of it. Now, before we move on, I want to show you one more thing. So if we just go back to the details where we discovered this camera. So again, we just go to the entry, we click on the device itself. If we click on the raw data, you'll see the data that this camera sent back to Shodan. So if you want to discover similar cameras or similar devices, regardless of what device you discovered and what device you're interested in, you can look at the raw data in here and filter devices based on the information that you have here. For example, you can look for the organization, you can look for the title that this device sends. For example, this device sends this specific title. So if you can use the title filter, title colon followed by this, and it'll get you all of the devices that have this in its title. You can also use the HTML, you can use the host, or any other field that you see in here that is unique to this device. You can use that to discover similar devices. So all it takes for you is to discover one interesting device, and then you can use the information that this device sends to discover other similar devices. Now, there are a number of interesting searches that people share, so you can look for Google for interesting Shodan searches. I'm going to include some resources on a GitHub that contains interesting searches, or you can even use the Explore tab to discover some useful searches again, so you can find industrial control systems, database, video games, webcams, and so on. But what I want to do next is I want to show you something that is really interesting. I want to show you how to use this if we were targeting a specific company or a specific organization. We weren't able to get in using the platforms that they have public for the people. So we come to Shodan to discover other devices on this company or on this organization, see the information that we get, and see if we can use this information to get initial access to this company or organization. Now, from now on, I'm going to be blurring some information that we will get because I'm actually going to be targeting a real college here in Ireland. I've already notified them about the things that I found, and hopefully they will fix them. But in any case, I don't want people to see this information or know where it's coming from. Therefore, I'm going to be blacking out some of the data that I will get, but you should still be able to learn what I want to teach you in here and understand how to apply it in other cases. So I'm going to use the org filter. This is actually a filter that Elliot used in Mr. Robot to discover devices owned by Evil Corp. So the org filter allows you to discover devices that are owned by a specific organization or a company. So I'm going to put the college that I want to get information about. And as you can see, we get a number of results that are related to the target that I have. The stars are actually added by myself to hide the identity of this college. But as you can see, we have about 300 devices related to this organization. We can filter based on the ports. We can filter based on the service that's running. And if you've done any of my courses or if you have some experience, you will know that these are popular services that we can try to exploit. So you can search for vulnerabilities in any of these services and try to get access through them. And as usual, we have the IPs in here. We have the location. We would have the exact location if I didn't blur it out in here. And if we click on the IP, we will get even more detailed information. Again, you'll get the host name. It's blurred out, but you would get it. You will see the open ports. Right now, this only has port 22. You'll get detailed information about the service running on this port. So we know that OpenSSH is running here. You have the location, you have the city, the organization, and so much information about this target. The cool thing is we know how to get this information using other tools, but the cool thing so far, we did not scan the target. We did not directly interact with this website or with this server. We have all of this information because Shodan interacted with them and Shodan got us these open ports and this information. Now, if we click on the domain in here, you will actually get all of the other subdomains on this specific domain, and you will even get other servers that are related to the same organization. Now, something that caught my eye instantly in here was this subdomain right here, which is blurred. And if we click on this, again, we'll get detailed information. And if we just see what's running on port 80, which is the port that usually runs web servers, you will see we will get some kind of a controller. Again, you can look up this controller and see firmware specific vulnerabilities. If that wasn't useful, we have detailed information about the network in here, and you'll even be able to control the doors for specific locations. So you have the door number in here, you can enable or disable it. You can control the IO modules, and you have more information about the IPs, the socket, the network that this specific device is connected to. If this wasn't enough, you can go back to the results that we got in here and search for terms that will allow you to find old or test or demo websites, because these websites usually are vulnerable or still under construction. Therefore, there are higher chances of you being able to get access to them and then from there gain access to other websites or to the full system or to the full network. So in here, if you search for old, you'll find a number of old websites. If you search for demo, again, you'll find a number of demo websites. If you search for test, you'll find a number of test websites. So all of these are potential access points. If this wasn't enough, you can spend a little bit more time looking through all of these devices and you will find some really interesting stuff. So I managed to find a number of printers. This one uses authentication, but you can see that there are a number of them in here that gave me direct access. For example, this one does not require authentication whatsoever. I'm able to see the status of it. I'm able to print stuff. I'm able to scan stuff. I can even turn it off and on and do so many things, even order cartridges, order ink, and just cost my target money. If this isn't enough, I have another printer in here that shows detailed information about the network that it's connected to. Again, as you can see, there's so many information in here, so much data that I can get out of it. Some of them I'm even able to modify the firmware and maybe even upload a firmware with a backdoor or a firmware that'll allow me to do something and get initial access to the network. So many printers, so as you can see, I got so many. All of them are on my target network, and like I said, we can look for vulnerabilities in these firmwares or use them to social engineer our target to do something. For example, you can find a printer that is very low on ink, or even just print a lot of stuff with it, so it seems like it's misbehaving. Then call the owners, tell them, look, you have a printer that's misbehaving, we're from HP, you need to update the software, run this file to update the software. When they run the file, they run a backdoor, and boom, you're in the network. Now that's just one idea, one example, but there's so many things you can do with the information that you get through this. Other than printers, I managed to discover a number of interfaces that allow me to control the climate, whether it's in freezers or in actual rooms, as you can see in here. I was also able to discover a number of Polycom devices that allow you to monitor a number of things, such as cameras, routers. Obviously, these require authentication, but like I said, you can try to exploit the firmware or try to guess the password or try default passwords, all this kind of stuff. I managed to discover a huge amount of virtual machines, and not only that, I also was able to discover the control panels for these virtual machines. And last but not least, this was the worst of all of them. I discovered a backup server that contains so much information. I didn't download any of these files, but I can see the size of them. So for example, you can see one of the files is 2.5 gigabytes in here. There is other directories, for example, this one's called databases, and you can only imagine what's inside it. And there is a fudge.php file, which is actually a PHP info file. This is very, very, very dangerous, because if you go through this file, as you can see, I'm just going to scroll down and you'll see the amount of information this file contains. It contains huge amount of information about the target, such as paths on the server, the functions installed, the web server, the languages that the web server supports. So many information that again can be dangerous to the owners of the system and very useful to hackers. Now we got all of this with a quick and simple search, so you can only imagine what a determined hacker can find. And believe me when I say, this is a huge college that uses amazing systems. They are implemented properly. So don't think this is a bad example. You will probably find similar information or worse if you search for other companies or other colleges. And this is the whole point of ethical hacking. We're here to raise awareness. So if you work in a company or organization, or if you own a company or an organization, I highly recommend you go on Shodan and see what information you get about your own organization or company. Hopefully you don't find anything, but if you do, at least now you have the chance to disconnect it and configure it properly. Now, if you want to learn more about Shodan, because there's still so much to learn, check out the description of this video. I'm going to include links to some interesting searches that you can use to practice and learn more. I'm going to include the references to the filters and a free book that dives really, really deep on how Shodan works and how to use it to discover devices on the internet. Also, let me know in the comments if you discover anything interesting or if you have any interesting searches to try. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with the latest in cybersecurity and ethical hacking. And don't forget to ask us any questions or give us any topics that you want us to discuss in our next live video.